Welcome to Colney Talk Podcast.
Hello, everybody. How are you doing? You're listening to Colney Talk Podcast, a bite-sized show. I'm your host, Alex. First-time guests, welcome, and to my returning listeners, glad to have you as well. On the show, I pick out my top 3 Arsenal performers in the game and the other guy below par. First game of 2023, Arsenal versus Newcastle at the Emirates. One of the most nervous game, I'll tell you. It's number 1 at the top versus number 3 in the table. This was a game of defenses. Very tight, small windows, quick close downs. I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone had nerves, just like I did. Saka in the first few minutes looked very bright, connecting with Odegaard, as with the rest of the team, how they start the same rhythm of, heavy possession and dominance. But that fizzled out quickly because Newcastle came right into the game, bringing their own physicality. For me, a lot was riding on Partey because that middle, Newcastle looked really fierce. They just were ready to pounce on any mistakes or broken passes. And the way we were, it just felt like Partey was caught in between 3 of their front attack and the way they were just wanted to push things out. But I'm glad he just really showed his display of excellence and how he was very pressure resistant. No easy breakdown, and it looked like they were trying to get Arsenal in a very heavy pedestrian mode. It looked that way in some cases. But that first half was just a tough match. We weren't really at our best. Newcastle did settle in a 4-5-1 defensive shape for Arsenal's attack. We swung between wings on the left and right for Saka and Martinelli, and it was all tight. I mean, add to that, the ref was just brandishing yellow cards for both teams. It was just so horrible. In fact, it added to the nerves, a lot more tension on the field, just the fear of red cards for any of the players or suspension, seeing how they will meet their limits in the first half. I mean, there was just so much going on. Yes, it was drama, but not the type of drama you would expect. Hey, we can't really dictate how things go. But yeah, those nerves was just a lot, and looking at the fear of Saka or Saliba getting booked, thank God that didn't happen. So now we know we have a whole team for one of the major games coming up pretty soon. Given how defensive this game went, plus the physicality, Arsenal didn't have it their way at all. Just we were out of rhythm, out of sync. Things weren't really flowing as we wanted to. We did impose ourselves in most part of the game, but it didn't reflect it because we only had 1 shot in goal in the first half. That's not good at all. That is uncharacteristic of how we typically would look at on the stat sheet. Not about the stats, but how we kind of perform and translate that in the box, in the final third, with those kinds of possessions. But we're talking about Newcastle with the best defensive team, so this is the first for us in this reaction. The ref, he just decided to put himself as a topic in this game. He missed a number of bad calls and VAR. I mean, you have this chance to go and review and look at things. Remember, folks, we had that report come out within that World Cup break where there were several calls that they admitted in wrong, decisions and all that. Now this continues. I was really curious after they admitted to these omissions and mistakes. I didn't really hear what they were going to do to rectify that. Is this going to be a real-time decisions to correct those, or what would they do? Because more of these admissions only leads to nothing. So here again we are, VAR. It's not just bad calls against Arsenal, but it's clearly that they need to do more work to fix all of this. In the start of the second half, Arsenal got again going a bit better than the first half. Our rhythm, as I mentioned, was disrupted, but we managed to stay compact on the front foot. I mean, we're just trying to make something happen, but we just continue having poor execution in the box. The attack was lacking, and we're not really in sync. I was thinking Vieira would come on, but to replace who? Saka? I mean, Saka wasn't that bad, but this is one of those where you're not really sure how things went. I'm okay with the decision that Arteta went with, just minimizing substitutions, but it speaks to a much bigger problem that we'll get down to much later. That would have, because it's really clear that maybe some of these substitutions, or if those changes happened, it would have hurt us, which I believe. As I mentioned, speaking to a bigger issue of our depth, now the window's open. We know who we're looking for, but I know there's more. I don't need to remind anyone that we also need a real good backup for Partey, because when he's not on the field, when he's not in the middle of that midfield for us, we just know that it doesn't look like how we look or how we have looked so far this season. Just knowing that we need that backup for Partey, it's priority. We have so much of these open spots that needs to be filled. Quality players at that. So again, we'll be hopeful that something comes out this window, as tight as it may be. We just keep our fingers crossed. Until then, let me get right into my top 3 Arsenal performance in the game. First up, Partey. With very minimal errors, I think he handled the midfield very well. He kept attackers in front whilst navigating pressure from Newcastle with the way that they would try to press him, the way they wanted to really squeeze him in and get the ball back. But he managed to be very resistant and maneuver away from that, really working with Zinchenko, and that was a very good effect of how they managed that situation. At no point did Partey look or feel to be overrun. Again, just the quality that he possesses. And I think this also had in part to the fluid change of our formations, where you would see Zinchenko, pull into the midfield and get the ball right there and have some sort of rotation between himself, Partey, and Xhaka. And it was just, I think he put up a really fine game. And to me, he really helped manage most of the kinds of situations that we were facing with Newcastle, and how the structures were, because they stood real firm. They were just really tight to break down, like 2-layer blocks, low blocks of how they were going to, stay to receive the ball or defend. My second player, Big Gabby, he played really tight. He fed very good passes to the attack. To me, he looked just ready for this game. He had a very nice chance to score, and he still stayed tucked in on a couple of set pieces. Not sure what the ref and the VAR explanation is on the missed big call for Big Gabby. It is just ridiculous, but hey, we move on, and we just leave it at that. And then my final player, Zinchenko, his passes, his movements, tackling, interception, he just kept us on the front foot at times in the second half. I liked his contribution in the middle with Partey, as I mentioned, and that was really immense. I thought he made so much of the switch plays and those movements very seamless. Good game for him, and it shows that these are the kind of qualities that we would need for our team, and the kinds of flexibility that are required when we are playing tough teams, because those are the levels that we're going to be moving up to, and those are the kinds of competition that we will be seeing much more, because this is the first test at this level, but this is also a sample size of what we should have with the capabilities of the players and how they can switch informations and situations when those arise on the game. Now, for my other player, I'll have to go with Odegaard. He didn't really settle in the game well and make any serious impact. No spark, a bit of panic shots and passes that looked really out of sync to me. Granted, this was against the most defensive team, but this was where he could have shown a little bit more, done some more things that I know he possesses. I expected more from him, and that's just the only reason why I picked him. We didn't win this game, but more importantly, we didn't lose. So that's that. Partey, Big Gabby, and Zinchenko are my top performers. I'll leave it there for now. Until next time, folks, let's just continue to hope for better things for this team. Please share with your friends and subscribe. Thanks for listening. Take care, and bye-bye.